Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Pixley for President. I am still Jared Pixley, still running for president in the 2028 election. So I do want to point out that I got myself a Constitution. It's actually a lot smaller than what I had hoped for. I wanted to get one to replace my AVP poster, but the description didn't have any size, and so that's what I got. Hopefully, I'll be able to get a better one at some point in the future. But for now, I have a Constitution. So I wanted to mention in recent news, Pete Buttigieg has announced that he is seeking a Senate seat. I think that's great for him and great for me. He is a great person, in my opinion. I think he would be a great addition to the Senate, and I'm glad not to have him running against me in the election. It's looked like I will be running against either Gavin Newsom or Kamala Harris. Gavin Newsom does lead the polls in California. Kamala Harris wins a lot of the polls outside of California. So it could be either one of them or someone completely new. We still have 2.5 years. Well, 2 years before the primary starts, so people are starting to come out. On the other side, it's speculated that it'll be a J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio ticket. And I think I can do well against them. So a few weeks ago, I discussed the destruction of the United States. And in this episode, I want to talk about how to fix things. Now, I've done a few episodes about this. Repairing our country will take a lot of work. I've told you what's on my whiteboard, defunding ICE, funding the Forest Service, funding the Veterans Administration, healthcare for all, funding the Department of Education, hiring all the scientists and experts and government employees. But I have even more to add. So it's a never-ending job. Specifically, this week I want to discuss how to fix our image in the eyes of the rest of the world. Right now, we are a laughingstock. In a recent political poll, foreign countries rated the United States about 2 stars out of 10. Other studies have had similar results. They question if the United States even has a functioning democracy. Recently, the head of FIFA is more worried about having the World Cup in the United States than he was having it in Qatar, which is a totalitarian regime with horrible human rights abuse. He did not balk at going to Qatar, but now in the United States, they're trouble. In fact, that same political survey says that only 49% of Americans think that we still defend democracy. For those of you that are bad at math, that's less than half. Think we defend democracy. But we need to improve our image. We need to improve a lot of things, but I already have videos on those. So this video is about improving our image. Well, let's start with USAID, or the United States Agency for International Development. When Trump took office, he tried to shut it down, and there have been some court battles over it. But what does it do, and why is it so important? So USAID is an independent federal agency with a budget of about $34 billion. Their purpose is to develop soft power for the United States by providing disaster relief, poverty relief, help with environmental issues, and socioeconomic development. They are the people that help dig wells in remote African villages, or at least the people that pay someone to go and do it. It is estimated that they save about 4 million lives a year. Now, the USAID is not without its criticisms. They have done some questionable and possibly illegal things in the past. But that doesn't make them any different from the rest of the United States government. With a competent and ethical leader and an inspector general, it should be fine. The U.S. Special Forces uses USAID when operating overseas. They get the USAID to dig wells or whatever the locals need, and this makes these villages more willing to let the special forces stay there and use them as a forward operating base. So, I mentioned soft power. But what is soft power? It is the ability to influence or persuade others through persuasive means rather than through force or coercion. Or to simplify it, people are more willing to help you. So, what is soft power? It is the ability to influence or persuade others through persuasive means rather than through force or coercion. Or to put it simply, people are more willing to help the nice guy rather than the bully. When other countries see our doctors helping with a plague somewhere, or cleaning up after a typhoon that destroyed an island, or just teaching a remote village how to read, they are more willing to do us a favor because they see us as a nice person. Now, soft power is a very important diplomatic tool because no one knows when they might need aid. If other countries see us giving aid to those in need, they might want to stay on our good side in case they might need it in the future. Now, soft power does not guarantee anything. According to diplomats, it is actually a very hard tool to wield, but it can still be useful, and it is still an extra tool they have at their disposal. We no longer have that now. On the other hand, when we bomb another country and kill a school full of children, they are less likely to help us out. And in fact, that is what has happened. We blew up a school in Iran, and no one wants anything to do with us. Now, a lot of people didn't want anything to do with us before that, but it's made things a lot worse on the diplomatic scene. Yeah. Now, I think we need to develop our soft power again. We need to fund USAID. We can do just that. But USAID isn't the only thing. Now let's discuss some of the other things that help our soft power. So speaking of the mess Trump has made after cutting USAID and bombing schools and bridges in Iran, he asked NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, for help in Iran. NATO said no. To be honest, why should they help us? The NATO Charter specifically says they are a mutual defense treaty. Keyword there, defense. When one member of NATO is attacked, the others help them fight off the aggressor. Iran never attacked the U.S. So NATO has no need to defend us. In fact, if anything, Iran should be asking NATO for defense, even though they're not a member. Now, we can see a better example of this a few months ago when Trump was discussing invading Greenland. Several NATO members sent forces to Greenland as a show of support. Now, I've talked about NATO in previous videos, but to sum it up, I think we need to continue to participate and be a productive member of the international community rather than the neighborhood bully who has no friends. So I've also gone into detail about the United Nations and the World Health Organization in a previous video, so I won't go into too much more here. They serve an important purpose around the world, and we should be an active part of that. The World Health Organization deals with disease outbreaks around the world. They were at the forefront of the fight against COVID-19. They also battle AIDS, malaria, other diseases. Supporting them would make people around the world think that the U.S. cares about human lives. And as president, I would care about human lives. Now, something that I've seen going around on social media is that the U.S. should join the International Criminal Court. The purpose of the court is to prosecute international crimes. This is the court that was established by the Rome Statute of 2002. Yeah, 2002. 2002 sounds better. Canada and most of Europe, as well as several other countries around the world, are members. The U.S. was part of the talks, but they did not officially join. Some presidents approved of what they did, while others did not, especially Trump when they called him out for committing war crimes. Now, while joining them seems like an easy decision, Senator Mark Kelly did bring up a few objections. He does not believe that we should join. Or no, he believes that we should join, but with a few changes. His main problem is that the text of the ICC Charter does not mesh with the Constitution or U.S. law. I won't get into the nitty-gritty legalities here, because I'm not a lawyer. I barely understand it, and it would add an extra hour of this video that would be very boring. Yeah. But there is questions about, who supersedes who, whether or not people get due process rights in the ICC, what rights do they offer versus what rights does the Constitution give, blah, blah, blah. There's also questions about who is directing the ICC, and some shady stuff about them not applying the laws equally. I'm not a part of it. I don't know. I just know the complaints. No, I do believe that the world needs an international criminal court. We saw the good it did after World War II with the Nuremberg trials. It held people accountable for their crimes when there was no other court to prosecute them. I don't know if this version of the court will be it, but I will look into anything we can do to help them be better and to mesh better with us. And I do believe that we need some sort of court for war crimes to send Trump and Hegseth to. I don't know why that name escaped me. Maybe it's just because I keep hoping he'll be gone. So, one other group, the Paris Accord. This was a big anti-pollution treaty, which right now China seems to be doing the best at adhering to. The idea of the Paris Accord is that it is a treaty to reduce carbon emissions, try to slow down global warming, and ensure that our children and grandchildren will have a habitable planet. Obviously, Trump did not like it and, does not participate. I think by rejoining the Paris Accord, it still shows, or is, one other thing to show to everyone else, that we as a nation care about the rest of the world. Now, each of these things are just little steps we can make, and really it's more of they're first steps. Just because we rejoined the Paris Accord, just because I fund USAID, doesn't mean everyone's going to just immediately like us again. But it's the start of the process, and as we continue along the process, as they see over and over again that we are there helping, that we are defending our allies, that we are reducing our carbon emissions and promoting green energy. Each one of those is a coin in the bank. And some people, they just need to see, oh, we got $1,000 in the bank. Continuing that analogy. And they will help us out. Others are going to wait till we have 10,000, 100,000. But as we build it up, our image improves. And hopefully, whoever succeeds me as president won't be like Trump and tear all that work away. Just bulldoze it just like he did to the East Wing. Now, I've talked a bit about these different organizations and treaties and why they're important. And I hope you understand that there's still more that I could do as president to help our image. Really, those are the big things. But, one of my plans I'd like to do in the first 100 days is do a whirlwind tour of some of our allies. Visit England, France, Germany, the Vatican, Ukraine, Japan. And meet with those leaders just to assure them in person that I am not Trump. That I will honor and support our allies. I will follow our treaties. I will discuss, new trade deals with them to get our economy going again. Japan holds a lot of U.S. Treasury bonds, and they're starting to sell them back, to cash them in, which is bad for our economy. But I would try to talk Japan into holding on to them again, to assure them that I'm going to fix our economy so the U.S. dollar is more valuable again. These countries are not using it. Used to be the U.S. dollar was what we used for international commerce, and some countries just aren't using it anymore because it's no longer valuable. But if we can get our economy functioning again, if we can get our international trade going again, in the tariffs, the value of the dollar will rise. And I can convince these countries to stop selling back their bonds. Because when they sell the bonds, that takes money out of our economy to pay them. Of course, I also want to balance the budget to reduce our deficit so that I can, pay off a lot of the debt. But that's another video. So I think that covers everything I wanted to discuss. I did go off script there for a minute. I want to thank you guys for watching this week's video. Please like, share, subscribe. Spread the word about my campaign. If you are one of the several people that I have tagged in this video and would like to just talk to me, you can reach me through my contact link on my website or through YouTube. If you're not one of the people I tagged and you have questions for me, you can also contact me through my website. You can leave a comment on this video. I do reply to my comments. I read all 1 or 2 of them a week. If you have suggestions for a specific topic you would like me to do, please drop it in there, because right now I'm running low on ideas. I got a few in the works, but beyond that, I'm drawing a blank today. So, thank you for coming and have a wonderful week.